What's going on, everybody? Hope you can hear me okay. We'll get going here in just about 5 minutes. What's up, Jen? Marlo. Yeah, I mean, this guy is super creepy. He looks like Dennis Reynolds. Like, no joke. Like the real life version. Thank you, Anthony. Good to see you. Thank you, Marlo. What's up, D? Good to see you. Miss Kitty, hello. Thanks for the emails today. I really appreciate the heads up. Thank you again. Yeah, I know, wasn't Bundy going for his PhD? Or was he, I think he just had a law degree. He was like a legit lawyer, right? Lorraine, Vanessa, Miss Thang, Sweets, B9, Olivia 2, Pastor Tony, hello. Hey, what's up, babe? Yeah, some great news. It was not good. We'll talk about that another time. Talk about that on like at a members meeting or something. Or I'll get at you in the Discord and I'll tell you what happened. Yep, law, right? I think he even passed the bar. I'm not sure. I wish we did. Good to see Tracy. Rainy days. Oh. Man, what's going on? This guy's big too, 6 foot jogger. He has druggy eyes. Genetic genealogy. Yeah, I just got done watching a video from the Inquisitor, and he was mentioning DNA. And then he provided a few information to kind of back up the theory. They seem very confident. Yeah, go ahead and hit that like button. And please subscribe. Yeah, I did, Miss Kitty. Yep, I saw that video too. And then I read an article where I guess he started joining boxing, and one of his emails said hammer hands or something like that. I wonder if it was like, I don't know, maybe when he went off the rails or something. What's up, dude? Good to see you. A grunge truck. Alrighty. Let's get this live stream rocking and rolling. I'm kind of out of it. I didn't really get too much sleep last night, and I drove about 3.5 hours and was planning on taking a little nap, but I couldn't. I put all this information together to go over the Idaho murders and the suspect that was just apprehended. And I was going over all the information. I had all these articles. I had all the stuff. And then I ran across a video by CBS News, and this is all gonna be a rerun or a replay for you guys if you've already seen, the presser and all that stuff. But they provide like a lot of information. I was sent an article from the Daily Mail. You know, we take everything from the Daily Mail with a grain of salt, but they were throwing in all this information. He asked apparently if anybody else was apprehended or if anybody else was being questioned, kind of to allude to the fact that he might have an accomplice. That was first mentioned, or the first time I seen it was in an article by the Daily Mail. So I didn't pull that up. I scratched that and I got rid of that just because of the information. There's just too much stuff that I couldn't verify. But a lot of it in this CBS video, they open up questions during the presser at the end, and they ask a lot of these questions. And law enforcement can't really give any specifics, but we can talk about it. Yeah, he's got that look, right? No one would have pointed to this guy. I don't know. I mean, a lot of people were saying targeted, 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 and I was like, mm, if it was targeted, they would have had this guy by now because they have most likely DNA and all this physical evidence, right? If it's targeted, that's like a short list of people. Run all their DNA, boom, cleared. It's not these guys. But we're going to talk about it. Maybe it is targeted, in a way that we weren't fully aware of yet. Bees Nine says he looks like a mass school shooter, like a Columbine kid. I'm not getting that kind of vibe. I'm getting maybe a psychopath. Not all statistically psychopaths aren't always intelligent, but every once in a while they are, and those are the scary ones. Those are the Ted Bundys. And that's I think that's who the character Hannibal Lecter was created to mimic was somebody like Ted Bundy. Oh, is my mic low? How's that? Is that a little better? Sorry about that. Vanessa says everyone doing side by sides of him and Bundy. It's undeniable. I mean, I don't see anything. Well, I guess there is kind of a resemblance. Maybe it's cold eyes. I don't know, but I get those Bundy vibes for sure. Miss Kitty, yep. The articles and some of the people that have come forward so far, I think classmates and people that know him have worked with him, say that he kept to himself. Yeah, those dead eyes. Rockaway says very conventional investigation. Collect DNA at the scene, analyze DNA, identify unknown subject with genetic genealogy, legwork. Yeah, I mean, I felt proud of law enforcement on this one. I felt like this is a job they could stand by and can make the Americans proud. Because you had the FBI, you had this whole group, and they even had to extend out to Pennsylvania. We're going to talk about that too. So we're going to do like a stop and go on this. Yeah, I mean, this is just an overall like great job. Everything you would have wanted like law enforcement to do, like the way they gathered all the camera footage and like as much as possible. I mean, the way they were doing things like that was pretty. I was pretty impressed. Miss Kitty says he was only 10 miles from the campus. Yeah, over in Pullman, Washington. And as we go along, I pulled a lot of information, so we're gonna stop, and then we'll pull up information on, I pulled a little bit on Pullman. I pulled a little bit on this, I think it's pronounced Albrightsville. And that's definitely like a upscale, like, little town. So we'll talk about those places. and then we'll look at some maps and see what it means. And I mean, it is kind of creepy how if you drive from Pullman, all right, don't beat me up over this. I know this is ridiculous. But if you look at the map from Pullman all the way to Albrightsville, where he was apprehended, I mean, it goes right near Evansdale. I know he would have been 18 at the time, but so what? I don't know. I don't know much about the guy. And then if you keep on going, considering if he drove, I mean, I'm assuming they found this Elantra maybe what in PA maybe. But if you keep going along that route, the exact distance off of that route to Waterloo or Evansdale is the exact same distance off of that route to Delphi. I'm not saying anything. I'm just, you know, I'm just pointing that out. That is a fact. And I wouldn't bring it up if there wasn't that whole 13 thing going on, and then Sandra Ladd and the Jewetton case. I wouldn't even mention it. But I mean, what's with the 13th? And it's like all along his little path where he drives. How does that relate to a Richard Allen? I don't know. Like I'm saying, I don't think it's connected. I'm just saying you cannot ignore that. Rainy Day says lots of people have used substances in their past. I don't think that's very much related. The only reason I bring it up is because he looks kind of like he's on something. Maybe it could even just be like steroids or something. I don't know. Um, but apparently, and I don't know if this article is legit. Like I said, a lot of this information and the rumors that I've already heard come from the Daily Mail. I'm not discrediting them. Maybe they've done the legwork, but you go by the reputation. But it sounds somebody was mentioning that he like went away, came back, wasn't the same person. Some friends of his, starting to create distance. He joined boxing and lost all this weight. Just seemed like a different person, apparently. He's a copycat, attention seeking. He almost seems like you ever heard that phrase like the curiosity killed the cat? He almost seems too curious for his own good. It's not good when a psychopath becomes curious. I wonder what they were thinking, before they murdered somebody. Maybe I need to go, test it out for myself. What's up, JJ? Prosecutor should wear a red suit. Yeah, he does have a nice, he's got a nice beard and mustache. I'll give him that. Yeah, email with the 1313. There were some other things, but I just haven't had time to go over it, so I don't want to talk about it too much. I want some time to kind of digest all this information. It was a lot. I mean, I was talking my wife's ear off the whole time. I was just so excited. It's because I told her I was like, man, I really hope that they really catch this person because we were talking about going back to Idaho for an anniversary. We're like, no, we're not going to go there. It's like, well, it might be worth it, so we can maybe go snoop around over there in Moscow. And I was like, well, hopefully it won't go another year, and I don't think so. Like I really was telling her, like I hope that it doesn't. Perfectly Imperfect says he was a kickboxer to try to curb his aggression. The hell was he so mad about? From the images over here on from Pullman. Oh no, not Pullman. I'm sorry, Albrightsville, Pennsylvania. I mean, there's really nothing to complain about. There doesn't seem to be like a middle class there. Hey, Miss Dog Lover. Yeah, copycat is a creepy one. The Rockaway says we need to understand what links him to Moscow. Well, Pullman links him to Moscow quickly. I mean, that's where he went to school. Another thing is just the university in general. He's a student. That might be what ties him to Ladd and Jewetton. Another thing, he was an avid vegan. I dabbled in that. I know what it is. You know, it's a very disciplined. It's kind of a militant diet, and you got to have a certain mentality going on, like mixing with your spirituality and stuff like that. So you got to be very strict at. So if he's obsessed with it, I know that the Jewetton, Travis and his wife were very big vegans. I'm just trying to tie in the whole Hawaii part. I know that Hawaii is tied between Ladd and the Jewetton case, but how is it tied to Moscow, and how could it possibly be tied to this character? Bryan is it Kohberger? Am I saying that right? But I mean, he lives right there. He wanted to know what it would be like to kill and believed he was smart enough to get away with it. I think he thought it was going to be easier. I don't think he planned to leave all that DNA, if he did. Um, I mean, you never know. Like, what if Ethan just like decided, I'm going to get up in the middle of the night and I'm going to go make a sandwich? You know, like this guy didn't plan for that. And what the hell was he doing there anyway? Why was he targeting them? Yeah. Good to see you, Dave. I was thinking the same thing. I was like, man, I wonder what his home life was like. But you got people like Ted Bundy who was like, man, I had a perfect life. Even Jeffrey Dahmer, he's like, yeah, I had a great life, perfect life, no complaints. They're just too curious, and they're curious about the wrong things, and then they don't have any feelings, to like kind of guide them. They're into weird things, and there's no like inner voice or conscience to kind of tell them like, look, man, like you kind of straight off path there, buddy. You got to sheepdog it back this way, please. No, Vanessa, I think that was just a bunch of confusion. A lot of times that happens. What's another example? Oh, yeah, with the Richard Allen. You remember when the news broke about Richard Allen and the Delphi case? People posted up the wrong picture of this guy. And then they snatched another image from the wife's YouTube that wasn't even him. It was like some tall guy. And they were like, oh, here's Richard Allen. And then just started spreading like wildfire. I don't mean, you don't have to be Matlock, but I mean, at least check, go at least 2 levels deep, at a minimum. I mean, at least just look at the least. Did anyone hear anything about his sister living next door to the victims in Moscow? No, I didn't. I'm sure we're going to be learning a lot. As a matter of fact, let's get into this video now. Like I said, we're going to stop and go. We're going to focus in mostly on the chat, the live chat. And we're going to try to figure out what the hell's going on with this guy. Apparently, law enforcement, what they're interested in right now is just more information on anybody who might know this guy. Me, I couldn't find him on True People Search. I know a couple people were able to find him on some background searches or something like that. I saw that on Reddit. But I don't think he's on Facebook. Were you guys able to find any social media at all? I mean, this is some premeditated shit. If this guy's like, I'm never going to fill this out. I'm never going to fill something, I'm never going to get a gym membership. They sell my information. If this guy's being super careful and he's super smart, he's a law student. I don't know. I mean, what do we got here, guys? What is this? He's a runner. Oh, he dated one of the girls. She dissed him. Hmm. Yeah, I don't know. I would have to say the tie to Moscow is he lived like 15 minutes away. Vegetarian? Yeah, I cut everything out. I've gone on many journeys. His aunt said he was extremely OCD. See, and Travis Jewetton was the same way. He was a very strict vegan. Is that a fact, D? Where'd you hear that at? That's interesting. Right there. He could be staying there and I don't know, maybe doing some drugs or something. She goes to sleep. He's creeping up, at night, creeping in the bushes, you know, fantasizing about murder and go visit the sister and stalk the neighbor. Yeah, Miss Kitty says, I'm sure he didn't plan to have his car tailed. Well, the thing is, law enforcement did an incredible thing the way they gathered that information the way they did. I mean, I hope they just do that on every case because I know there was a famous case just a few years prior to this one where they found the killer in a similar fashion. They were pulling all their surveillance camera, even from the buses. And right when the doors opened and some passengers moved out of the way, a killer, one of their main suspects, drove right by and was seen clear as day at a certain time of day, putting him right there. Um, and he already had the motive. So now they know he could have actually committed the crime. So when they had that video, they knew, he had opportunity to do this. So, I mean, you got to commend them on that one and applaud them. And they mentioned something during the presser about the FBI playing a large part in the developments. So that's kind of neat too. Kiwi, does anyone know? Can't remember where I saw his sister live next door. I don't know. I hope it's just not one of those rumors. It's just kind of like spreading and spreading. So if we can find out where that rumor started, we can just post the source. That'll make it easier. All right. I caught up on most of the chat. If I missed anything, here we'll get one more. Red face head case. Hello, sleuth. Wouldn't no SM presence be a red flag to girls that age? I think so. Maybe it was. Did you guys see that picture? Yeah, let me pull it up before we start this video because I'm curious. It may not make any sense, and it's probably something people talk about all the time, but I wanted to revisit this. Okay, let's see. I just need to share my screen real quick. Okay. So now, were they wedging the doors shut with these stools? Like, is this a method of wedging this door shut? Did they have an altercation with this guy outside, maybe already, or maybe a threat, or see him kind of walking around, and that's why they started calling the Jack character? Like, man, there's this weirdo. He was in our backyard. Like, you gotta hurry. You gotta come. And then they're like, oh no, he went away. So I didn't know. To me, it kind of looks. At first, I thought maybe they were knocked over, But then again, it almost looks like they tried to wedge the door from being able to get jimmied open, you know? Because some of those sliding glass doors are real easy just to kind of pop open. Well, the door's not open, it's closed. Both these doors right here are closed, and this is inside. So, I mean, these aren't automatic doors. There wouldn't be a reason to hold them open. I don't know, just a thought. He worked at Chrysler first? Oh, shit, don't get me started. I think they put a halt to it, Candace. I think they were going to clean it, and a judge stopped him. Let's go ahead. All the information is gonna be in this video. Let's watch it, we'll stop and go.
Last night, in conjunction with the Pennsylvania State Police, the Federal Bureau of Investigation, detectives arrested 28-year-old Bryan Christopher Kohberger in Albrightsville, Pennsylvania, on a warrant for murders of Ethan, Xana, Madison, and Kaylee. I want to personally thank these agencies for their assistance in this case. Kohberger resides in Pullman, Washington, and is a graduate student at Washington State University.
All right, let's take a look at Pullman, Washington. I mean, it's like a stone's throw away. Yeah, but why would he zip over there and go right to that house? I don't fucking get it. Maybe they said something to him online and pissed him off. He's like, I know where you live. Like, I'm on my way, you know? Excuse me. Okay. 16-minute drive. 9.4 miles. This is Pullman. Lucky Reese says, I wonder if he tried to date one of them. Yeah, what if he was cyber stalking them? For some reason, he has a connection in Moscow. And then he was able to begin communicating with them. You know, they were out drinking. Maybe he fooled them somehow. And then they were like, hell nah, we ain't messing with you, dude. Maybe they started clowning him too, you know, and he got all pissed off. Some people go into rage, you know, that incel energy. Um, Apparently they always talk about they're just bound to snap and they know it. Miss Thang says a few people were asking if he was the ride along guy with the police to one of the complaints. He doesn't look like that guy. Yeah, you got to be careful who you talk to. Like, don't go around underestimating people. Like, you just don't know. It's just better not to be running your mouth. Perry, UK True Crime. Hello. There was a serial killer around Moscow who was never caught some years back. I wonder if the case inspired him. Well, they seem to make it seem as if the motive may be somewhere in that probable cause. So once he gets over here, and he gets a chance to be officially arrested by them and shown all the documents, like, look, man, this is what we got against you. This is what's going on. Then, like, we're not first in line. The defendant is first in line and then the public. Or actually, it's probably maybe even the family might even be privy. I think this is Washington State University where he went. And this is just a street corner there in the small town.
We'll provide as much information as we can about the extradition to Idaho and the criminal process. However, due to Idaho state law, we are limited in what information we can release today until Kohberger has
Rainy Day says he was stalking them online. He liked a bunch of Callie and Maddie's IG posts. Yeah, see, that makes sense. Cyber stalking.
initial appearance in Idaho court. I want to express my appreciation to our local community, the people of Idaho, and those throughout our nation who provided information to help us investigate these murders has been very impressive. We've received
Dave says, worst drive ever from Idaho to PA. Why do you say that, Dave? Is it the traffic or just the cities you go through?
over 19,000 tips, and we've conducted over 300 interviews.
Damn, 300 interviews. Impressive.
To recap this case, on the evening of November 12th, Kaylee and Madison arrived home at about 1:56 a.m. after visiting a local bar and street food vendor. Ethan and Xana were at the Sigma Chi house before arriving home around 1:45 a.m. The two surviving roommates had also been in the community but returned around 1 a.m. On the morning of November 13th, a 911 call was made at 11:58 a.m. reporting an unconscious person at the residence. The call came from inside the home from one of the surviving roommates' cell phones. Moscow police responded and found 2 victims on the 2nd floor and 2 victims on the 3rd floor. On November 17th, autopsies were conducted, and the Latah County coroner confirmed the identity of the 4 victims. The cause and manner of death was homicide by stabbing. Some had defensive wounds, and each had been stabbed multiple times. These murders have shaken our community, and no arrest will ever bring back these young students. However, we do believe justice will be found through the criminal process. This was a very complex and extensive case. We had developed a clear picture over time, and we stand assured that the work is not done, but be assured the work is not done. This has just started. Since November, we have remained laser focused on pursuing every lead in our pursuit of justice for the victims and their families. I recognize the frustration with the lack of information that's been released. However, providing any details in this criminal investigation might have tainted the upcoming criminal prosecution or alerted the suspect of our progress. We will continue to provide as much information as we can as the process moves forward. Today, I want to specifically thank our dedicated Moscow Police Department detectives, patrol officers, the Idaho State detectives, the Idaho State troopers, and their crime lab technicians and scientists, and the Federal Bureau of Investigation for the resources and personnel to conduct this massive investigation. It was the dedication of them and the persistence and the numerous hours that led to an arrest. Fortunately, These highly skilled people work together as a cohesive team to solve this case. I also want to thank our community and the nation. Over the past 6 weeks, I've been continually reminded of how much our community cares. Locally, public support has been exceptional with kind words, food for investigators, and letters of support. You will never know how much your words of encouragement help us through these trying times. I appreciate each of you and each of your kindness. Agencies and individuals from across the nation have reached out to us to express their support to this department. I'm reminded how our Moscow community, our families, and the nation has been impacted by this daily.
Yeah, and I think the way they handled the public and the media and social media, I think they rode the gray line really well. They provided enough information without holding too much information. Um, I mean, look, they gave all the details of the vehicle right off the bat. They weren't acting strange about it at all, and it sounds like that's what led to the capture of this guy.
Finally, I do want to thank our media partners for the help. You kept this in the news. You helped us with tips. You kept things going, and we truly appreciate that. And you are the product of those 19,000 tips that we received, which is an impressive number. I would like to invite Bill Thompson, the county prosecutor, up at this time.
Good afternoon, folks. My name is Bill Thompson. I'm the Latah County prosecutor. And it's sad to be here, but happy to be here at the same time. As Chief Fry indicated, a criminal complaint was filed yesterday here in Latah County, charging the defendant, Mr. Kohberger, with 4 counts of first-degree murder, in addition to
a good point,
felony
Perry.
burglary, which involves entering the residence with the intent to commit the crime of murder. Mr. Kohberger, and let me preface, there is a pending case now in court, and I and my office and the investigators have to live with the restrictions that our Supreme Court places on pretrial publicity. That said, I promise you we will share with you, through the court process or otherwise, whatever we are allowed to. I just appreciate your patience on that.
What up?
The factual basis for the charges are summarized in what's called a probable cause affidavit that is on file with the court. According to the rules of the Idaho Supreme Court, that is sealed until Mr. Kohberger is physically back in Latah County and has been served with the Idaho arrest warrant. At that time, we expect that affidavit will be available to you so you can share the true facts.
Yeah, that affidavit I think is going to have the motive and maybe give us a little bit more information on how they're connected. Do you guys think there's a connection between this guy, or is this some kind of serial killer situation that we're dealing with here? Or do you expect to see some type of connection explained here in the near future?
With all of your readers and your watchers and your listeners and all the people who are interested and really need to know what's going on. So please have patience with us on that. We hope to get that to you as soon as we can.
Good to see you, buddy.
As far as Mr. Kohberger, I can share with you that he is a graduate student at Washington State University and has an apartment residence over at Pullman. He has had an initial appearance in front of a judge in Pennsylvania. He is being held without bond, and the warrant from our magistrate judge here also provides for no bond. We understand that he's scheduled to be back in court in Pennsylvania next Tuesday afternoon, and that a public defender has been appointed for him there. The process at this point is, since he was arrested in another state, he has the opportunity to either waive extradition and
See, I like how they kind of hold our hand through this whole process. We're obviously concerned that this could happen. And the fact that they were able to catch this guy so quickly not only is it impressive, it's good for our country. It's good for Idaho. It's good for our justice system, I guess. It gives me confidence, that they were able to get the job done. If this is the guy, it's extremely early, but they seem confident. They seem to think that this is 100% their guy.
Return voluntarily to the state of Idaho, or if he prefers not to waive extradition, then we will initiate extradition proceedings through our governor's office. If we do that, it can take a while for him to get here. So again, I'm asking for your patience and understand that's just the way the system works.
CJK Hello says, I didn't know who he wanted to target in that house, and I still don't. But I believe he was targeting somebody there specifically. But what makes you think that? Is it just because the media was kind of saying that? Like, what leads you to believe that? Is it just a feeling that you're having?
Here, he'll have an initial appearance with our magistrate. They'll deal with issues such as making sure competent counsel is representing him, and the case will be scheduled for further hearings. Your primary source of factual information is going to be the court record, because that's what the Supreme Court says we need to refer you to. So please pay attention to what's going on in court and have people there to watch and hear what's being said. As an attorney, myself and my office, we are limited on what we are allowed by the courts to say outside of the courtroom. So please just work with us. Finally,
yeah, JJ, they seem to want to give more information. Hopefully they will release more after he is charged. Yes, definitely Moscow PD wants to give the information, especially when they asked about the Elantra. He's like, he was like biting his lip. He's like, oh man, I just want to tell you guys, you know, how badass we are, and you know, how we were kicking ass on this case and how we actually found it. You know, he's biting his lip. I was like, oh man, I can't wait to hear what these guys got, you know, how they did this. They're giving a huge chunk of the credit to the FBI. So I'm curious if that's the DNA part of all of this.
The chief indicated, this is not the end of this investigation. In fact, this is a new beginning.
Yeah, that's right.
We all now know the name of the person who has been charged with these offenses. Please get that information out there. Please ask the public, anyone who knows about this individual, to come forward, call the tip line, report anything you know about him to
tip
help
line
the
is in
investigators
the
and
description.
eventually our office and the court system understand fully everything there is to know about not only the individual, but what happened and why.
Yeah, see, they don't know anything about this guy. It's almost like either just by the nature of who he is, you know, nobody's there to tell his story. He's not very social. He's not on social media. Or maybe it's by design. You know, maybe he planned it that way. Dave says, since they now have a name, they can revisit the area hospitals for patients with cuts. That's the first thing I did when they started showing the images of him. I was looking for like fresh scars, you know, how they're still kind of like a dark brown, or maybe some deep cuts on his hands, but I didn't really see anything.
Next, I'll introduce Colonel Ked Wells from the Idaho State Police. Thank you.
Well, good afternoon. My name is Kedrick Wills. I serve as the director of the Idaho State Police, and certainly want to express our appreciation for your attendance here today. These tragic murders took 4 young, vibrant lives from our community. Nothing we do can bring them back. The only thing that we can do in law enforcement to honor their memories that we know of is to bring this to a successful conclusion. This has been a very difficult time for the families, the university, the community, and the state of Idaho. However, it is also proven that communities come together in tough times. Certainly appreciate the support of the local community and our national audience that has been following us as our investigators have worked through this case. I'm thankful also to you, the media partners, who have helped keep this case in the forefront that generates the tips and we hope will continue to generate information that will help us to a conclusion of this proceeding. I'd like to express our appreciation on behalf of the Idaho State Police to Chief Fry, his leadership, and the entire Moscow Police Department for the way that they handled this from the very beginning. He directed the right people to the right positions that led us to this conclusion today.
Thank you for that, by the way.
I've had the utmost confidence in
appreciate
this
that, man.
investigation and in Chief Fry, as well as in Mr. Bill Thompson and the Latah County Prosecutor's Office, who've been a great partner throughout this. Nothing has deterred the commitment of the investigators who've worked on this case, regardless of the organization they represent. It's been very trying and very difficult, as you know, that it has been on those investigators as they do the tedious work that they're so good at doing. The partnerships is what's led here as well. Mm-hmm. The partnerships between Moscow Police Department, I'd like to express our appreciation with the Federal Bureau of Investigation, specifically the special agent in charge out of the Salt Lake City Division, Dennis Rapp.
Candace says the lady at the gas station is a hero. I wonder if that footage helped, because a lot of people think that the vehicle is fleeing from the scene, but it's my understanding that it's going towards the scene at about 3:40, I think. I could be wrong. If anybody can correct me.
And also what the work that happened in the last 24 hours in Pennsylvania with the arrest with the Pennsylvania State Police and Colonel Evanchik with the Pennsylvania State Police. We appreciate what they've done across the nation to help us as well. As Bill shared, this investigation is far from over. In fact, I appreciate what he shared, that this is not an ending, but rather a new beginning. The difference now is, as he shared, that we are dictated what information we can share by the court process and by laws in our state of Idaho. And so we will share, as he shared. Mr. Thompson is absolutely committed to share everything he can share through the court process. We've got to make sure that we don't get in front of that process. And we really deeply appreciate everybody's support here. The relationships that were forged here and the partnerships that were forged have led to this. And based on that is why we're here today. And we continue to believe that the best way we can honor these 4 lives that have been taken is to make sure that we have a successful outcome here. One of the partnerships that's been forged throughout this is a partnership with the University of Idaho. And on that, I'd like to introduce the president of the University of Idaho, Mr. Scott Green.
All right. Before Scott Green comes up there, let's catch up on the chat. Sweet says, I feel like they think he has some other criminal past he hasn't been arrested for as hard as they're asking for people to come forward with info. Yeah, because think about it. If he didn't have a criminal past, where do we remember that? In the Delphi case, they couldn't match up any DNA because, it's like the person hasn't committed a crime before. Same with Thomas Jerome Bruce. None of his information was in the system. They used old-fashioned police work. But now, if you're trying to say that they maybe have linked it to other cases, that would be very interesting. I mean, this guy, he gives me serial killer vibes. When I heard about this crime, I was thinking serial killer. Well, at first I thought it might have been something drug related because they kind of put out false information about the zip ties and all that. But that wasn't the case. So once I got all the facts, I started thinking, yeah, this is a very sophisticated criminal. I was getting the feeling like he almost wanted to outdo something that he had done in the past. I was trying to find something to explain why he had 4 victims. Like, what would explain that? Yes, right. The first thing that comes to mind is targeted, rage, maybe a secret, maybe somebody was betrayed by friends or a lover, crime of passion. But the more and more that time went by, you got to assume that the first people that they're running the DNA on and interviewing over and over and doing polygraphs and running search warrants on behind the scene are those people in her closest network. So a month goes by and none of those people are apprehended. You have to start to assume that it's not targeted. And if it is a targeted attack, it's something other than like a personal connection. Lorraine says, process of elimination. They looked at people who were always at the house, then probably found someone who didn't belong because he had no record. I'm wondering even if they had to wait on some cooperation from some of these social media sites, to get some of the data back, or maybe even like Apple or something along those lines. And maybe they were able to get some IP addresses and start to narrow things down a little bit, because they mentioned something about a picture coming, becoming clear as time is going by. It was becoming clear, and I like how they put it that way. I'm very impressed by their investigation. If they can get this guy with this, that'll be a big win for Idaho, and I think for America, really, United States. I mean, you see what they had to do. They had to go all the way to Pennsylvania to get this guy. With all that jurisdiction, red bureaucratic tape bullshit, they can't just run over there and grab the guy. They got to play that game. And I like how they explained it to us in this press conference. The prosecutor, I like him. Right from the beginning, he was like, you guys need to try to understand like where we're coming from. We're trying to protect this case. Like, you don't know the progress we've made behind the scenes. Like, we're going to get this guy, but we got to convict him. But at the same time, he has to push towards us, people in social media and the public. They got to push. Remember the family members? They were pushing. Everybody's pushing, but then the family backed off. You don't want to push too much, but everybody should be applying that pressure, because look at what happened. They called out, the bad actors in social media. They confronted people who were calling their guys rookies. Like they took everything head on. Very impressive.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Scott Green, President, University of Idaho. Today's news of arrest is a welcome one. It's relief to our university, our community, and our extended Vandal family. The outpouring of support over the past 6 weeks helped sustain us during the most trying.
Richard says a friend of his said he was an ex-junkie. Yeah, I started seeing something circulating from TikTok, right? An old female, I think it was somebody who went to school with him, saying he was on heroin or something.
Time. They provided the strength that helped us navigate the international scrutiny visited on our students and employees. We are truly thankful for the compassion and acts of kindness shown to our community. Kindness is contagious, and it provided the light that reclaimed ground lost to evil and darkness. We first want to acknowledge and thank Governor Little for the early promise of financial support that enabled the university to secure our campus and focus on helping our students and our employees in the wake of the crimes. We also appreciate the Idaho State Police and the highly visible security presence.
Information as we can.
Oops. Sorry, I went too far. Let me go a little bit back right here. JJ says, hopefully they will let cameras in for the trial. Well, most states do. Indiana's like a really strange state, apparently. I've learned a lot about the way they run their criminal justice system and their court system. It's a little bit different. Some of it I like, and some of it I'm just confused by.
The past 6 weeks helped sustain us during the most trying time. It provided the strength that helped us navigate the international scrutiny visited on our students and employees. We are truly thankful for the compassion and acts of kindness shown to our community. Kindness is contagious, and it provided the light that reclaimed ground lost to evil and darkness.
Dave says, I will be shocked if he hasn't done something like this before. That's what I'm saying, man. This guy, with his interest in criminology, and this isn't just somebody that's taken a course, or like, hey, look, I ordered a book on Amazon about police procedure. Look, it's a police academy book. I know everything they do. Like, no, this dude knows some shit. So for him to do what he did, I don't know, maybe he was on something. Maybe Maybe he suffers from some type of like, really bad anger, rage, that blackout rage.
We first want to acknowledge and thank Governor Little for the early promise of financial support that enabled the university to secure our campus and focus on helping our students and our employees in the wake of the crimes. We also appreciate the Idaho State Police and the highly visible security presence that brought comfort and calm to a community shocked and confused by the senseless crimes. We never lost faith that this case would be solved and are grateful for the hard work of the Moscow Police Department and their law enforcement partners. Vast and committed FBI resources brought important expertise to this complex case. Across the
Miss Kitty says, thank you for staying up and doing this live sleuth. Much appreciated. I hope you have an awesome New Year's. Yeah, Happy New Year to you, Miss Kitty. Thank you for all your emails. Thank you for giving me the heads up. I was totally busy. I was distracted. I was being a little tourist in Jerome, Arizona. And then boom, you hit me. And I was just like, I could not get my head out of the phone. I was so excited. I was like, they got this. I felt like yelling, like they got the motherfucker. Because I kept looking at him. I was like, oh man. I was like, babe, look how creepy this is. She's like, all right, I get it. I was like, no, look. They got his ass. Yeah, I was really happy. So I hope they can put together a good case.
Board, dedicated, highly competent personnel worked this case to arrest. This crime has nevertheless left a mark on our university, our community, and our state. While we cannot bring back Maddie, Kaylee, Xana, and Ethan, we can thoughtfully and purposefully carry their legacy forward in the work that we do. Our students come first, and that was proven each and every day of this investigation. We are committed to safely delivering the college town atmosphere, campus experience, and high-touch quality education for which the University of Idaho is known. With time, we will heal. We will move forward together.
Dave says, very few people are capable of doing this, but there are some. This guy is not like everyone. He is twisted. When I read an article about what his friend was saying about him, like kind of changing and getting into boxing, there was part of me that kind of felt like maybe he was preparing. He was preparing for an altercation. He was preparing for some resistance. Like, oh, if they get up and they try to fight me, maybe I'll just box them, or kickbox them, I'll be able to fight them. So it seems like he was like training for this maybe. Or he did it before and he got his ass kicked and he's like, man, I really need to step up my game. Because if he has anything to do with the duet and stuff, like he was unable to kill both his targets because he got some serious resistance from Travis. So that could have been an embarrassment to him, and maybe he needed to go train and do much better. And I mentioned that on a live stream prior to this. My amateur profile.
And we will remain Vandal strong. With that, I'd like to turn it back over to Chief Fry.
Genzo says Kaylee was into true crime and he was a criminal justice major. Maybe there's a connection there. Yeah, that's possible. The connections that I seen early on was the university. And I'm stuck on the serial killer stuff, guys. I'm so sorry. I just can't help it. I mean, now with this guy, man, he's got serial killer written all over him. Now you got Hawaii. And I believe that some of the girls visited Hawaii quite often. You have the university connection, and then they're all, within driving distance. So their suspect lives right there in Pullman.
So now we will open the floor to questions. However, I want to remind everyone, as Prosecutor Bill Thompson explained, any factual information regarding the arrest of Kohberger is currently sealed per Idaho law and will not be released until he has appeared in an Idaho court. Please.
Oh, really? Case Crack says BTK killed 4 people on his first attack. Is that true? Oh, a whole family, huh? Including 2 children, I think. You are right. That's correct, man.
Formulate your questions accordingly. I recognize there are a lot of questions, and I will try to answer as many of them as I can.
Is there an evergreen or Argonaut reporter?
Lauren Patterson, Northwest Public Broadcasting, Spokane Public Radio. I realize the records are sealed. I guess I'm not too familiar with how it works, but can you tell us what tip, what lead, what piece of evidence really led you all the way from Idaho to the suspect in Pennsylvania?
Well, early on, they said he's not going to answer that question, by the way. But early on, they said the FBI is really to be credited. And I don't know if they're just giving them credit for crossing the state lines, because usually that's what happens. Like if you have a suspect that's gone from one state to the other, he's fleeing justice, so to speak. You call in the FBI, they're able to cross those state lines. So I'm wondering if that's what they're saying, like, thank you for crossing those state lines and how, assisting us, or did they provide some kind of specialty? Was there something that they were able to provide to the case that actually broke this information? Or was it Bryan Kohberger's, was it his family? If he fled to the family, they're going to know that he showed up with cuts on his hands and, why did you drive all the way over here? It's going to be highly suspicious. So I'm wondering if maybe somebody close to him tipped in, maybe sent a tip to the FBI, maybe?
As I've said in the past, that's part of our investigation, and we won't be releasing that this time.
Or maybe, because I know when they were asking for video footage, like Ring doorbell footage and security camera footage, I know that information was being sent directly to the FBI. So maybe that's what they meant.
We will have those answers. We'll have them as soon as we can make those available to you.
Then a quick follow-up and a two-parter. Is our community safe, or is law enforcement still on the search for other suspects who might be involved in this attack?
What I can tell you is we have an individual in custody who committed these horrible crimes.
Case Crack follows up with, it's not hard to believe it's a person's first attack and kills 4 people. We want to think he did this before, but more likely he went for the girls, and the couple on the second floor were collateral damage. I don't know. Not sure yet. Could be, though.
Crimes, and I do
Could have
believe
walked into
our
a hornet's
community is
nest.
safe, but we still need to be vigilant, right? We still have talked about this in the past. We always need to be aware of our surroundings and make sure that we're aware of what's going on.
Yeah, Olivia, shout out to
how soon into the
all those law
investigation did
enforcement
police
and
and law
investigators
enforcement
involved.
begin to spot Mr. Kohberger as a potential suspect? And a follow-up, how many tips, if you can say, were specifically related to Mr. Kohberger?
To the tip part, honestly, I can't answer that question, so I'm not even going to speculate on that. On the other part, that's part of our investigation, and it will come out. I'd like the mic to please come right over here.
Thank you. Dana Griffin with NBC News. Can you confirm that Kohberger asked whether or not anyone else had been arrested when he was in custody?
I cannot confirm that, or I'm not sure of that information, but that would still be a part of our investigation.
Did CODIS initially return any hits on this guy?
That's still part of our investigation. That will
They
come
ask
out.
really good
If we
questions.
could get somebody over here, please.
And then one final question. Is there any message to the online sleuths who slandered and harassed people who they believed were responsible?
There was a lot of speculation going on, and we've always said from the very beginning that we're the official message that comes out, and to pay attention to what we're putting out there to the press.
I'm Nancy Liu with News Nation, and we were over at the house this morning, and you told us that the remediation would begin today. It was suddenly stopped. Can you tell us why?
Yes. The house cleanup has been halted, and that came by a legal request from the court.
Christina Corbin, Fox News. Chief, have you identified a motive?
That is part of the investigation, and that will come out as we continue the investigation.
Yeah, I mean, nothing in the world could ever motivate anybody to do something like this, but I would like to hear his explanation, what he has to say about what motivated him.
But what we still ask is for people to continually send us things in the tip line. We are still looking for more information. We're still trying to build that picture, just like we have stated all along. We're putting all the pieces together, and that will help.
Chief Veronica Miracle with CNN. Any indication that the suspect knew the victims?
That's part of the investigation as well. It won't be something that will come out at this point in time, but as we continue the investigation and as this case goes to trial, that will be brought forth.
Have you spoken to the families? Can you tell us what they've told you today?
Are you talking the victims' families? Yeah, we have reached out to the victims' family as we always do. We've done that daily, and we've continued to have contact with them.
Hey, Nate Sanford, you mentioned earlier that you're still seeking tips about Bryan and that people should still share whatever information they have. Can you speak at all about what specifically people should be reaching out for, like if they know something?
I would say anything and everything. As we've said all along, we know what tips we're looking for. We will take those tips and we will have professionals look at those and decide which pieces of those we need to use for our case. So we ask that everybody would do that.
Angela Palermo, Idaho Statesman. Your department and other investigators on the case took a lot of flack for keeping information close to your chest. Are you glad that you did that, and were you worried about tipping the suspect off?
I will 100% stand behind the way that we handled this investigation. And this all started from day one with our patrol officers arriving on scene, locking down the scene, us calling in the Idaho State Police, us calling in the FBI, and keeping information that was pertinent to this case very, very tight. We want to have a situation where when this goes to trial, there is no doubt that we've done everything right and we've slowed down and we've continued to slow down and we'll continue to do that.
I'm not sure.
Hey, Chief. Have you guys found the murder weapon or the Hyundai Elantra?
So we are still looking for all pieces of evidence, but we are still looking for the weapon. And I will say that we have found an Elantra.
See, he wants to tell you guys. He wants to tell us what's going on. Man, he wants to answer that question so bad. That's the key right there. Was that Elantra?
So we are still looking for all pieces of evidence, but we are still looking for the weapon. And I will say that we have found an Elantra.
Stephanie Becker with CNN. Can you tell
Probably evidence
what it was
in it
like
too.
when you got the phone
A
call
lot of
when
DNA,
the police
maybe.
told you that they had your suspect?
I can tell you, for a lot of law enforcement, it was a fairly sleepless couple of days with as we were leading up to everything that we were doing. But what I can tell you is I have faith in those agencies across the nation. I have faith in our officers. I have faith in the FBI, and they did a great job. But sure, there was some times, even throughout the day, that we were always concerned.
Hi, Chief. Danya back at CBS News. Can you talk a little bit more about the suspect's connection to Pennsylvania?
All I know is that he lives in Pennsylvania.
Chief Guy Tannenbaum from Nonstop Local KHQ in Spokane. More about the Elantra. We saw reports that you mentioned that you recovered an Elantra, but can you specify where that was found? And we know that that was one of the biggest pieces of information you were asking from the public to tip. Were you able to provide an information on whether those tips led to this seizure of an Elantra?
That's still part of the investigation that will come out in the future.
Chief Glenn Mosley, Idaho Public Radio here in Moscow. The additional police presence in town and on campus, semester's coming. Is that going to continue?
You will continue to see state troopers in the area. You know, we're talking to Latah County as well. You will see a presence of us that we're always have up on campus. We have assigned officers to that. So you will continue to see a law enforcement presence. I'm going to take two more questions.
Hi, Chief. Julie Scott, ABC News. Can you tell us if you eventually had a license plate number to the Elantra and how you tracked it to Pullman?
That's still part of the investigation that will come out.
Chief, hi, Matt Lovelace with the Murrow College of Communication. I want to ask about Mr. Kohberger as a graduate student at WSU. Are you aware of if he returned to campus after November 13th? And have you had any communication with departments on the WSU campus about his attendance?
It's a good question.
So some of that is going to be.
See, let me run this one back. This one actually stood out to me a little bit. This might be what got him caught.
Chief, hi, Matt Lovelace with the Murrow College of Communication. I want to ask about Mr. Kohberger as a graduate student at WSU. Are you aware of if he returned to campus after November 13th? And have you had any communication with departments on the WSU campus about his attendance?
So some of that is going to be followed up as we.
See, he could have just simply said no, but there's something there.
We continue our investigation. We'll be asking some of those questions, but that'll come out in the near future. So what I do want to do is I want to thank you all. You really have been the national voice for us. You've given us the opportunity to get many, many tips, and I do appreciate everything you've done, and we'll continue to look forward to working with you in the future on this. So I'd like to thank you for that, and thank you for your time.
Good show of professionalism by all those law enforcement officials and investigators who took part in that investigation. I hope them the best in the next stage of that case so that those victims can get justice. Before we get out of here, let's take a look at some stuff I was able to pull out really quick. So this is the guy. I don't know. When I seen him, what I pictured was him attacking the two upstairs. And maybe Ethan, his girlfriend's like, you need to go check on them. Like, it doesn't sound right. And them completely not expecting this weird freak right here, potentially, running down with this huge knife and has a confrontation right then and there, with Ethan. And maybe he's able to make it back to try to protect his girlfriend or something. But I mean, why would you expect there to be a madman running around your house? Like, you wouldn't even have a chance. If you just woke up, you wouldn't even have a chance to get your gun, to do anything. You're just opening your door and then boom, there's a psychopath right in front of you with a 12-inch blade, Yeah, it's got to be, when I see him, like, it's much more scary. Like, this is like, just another phase of what he was expecting to happen. He's like, okay, I got caught. We prepared for this. Now we're going to, go Ted Bundy on it. And we're going to try to milk the media and shit like that. He just has this look like, okay, this is, we were expecting this, on to plan B now. Hey, can't bring the king into this. Wow. Now, I don't know if he's trying to look like Ted Bundy. You know what I mean? Or if he just does. Hey, Candy. I read allegedly through genealogy they found a family member that I guess was a match. Yeah, I saw that earlier today. I think they were able to get it through some type of trace evidence. And I'm wondering if that's why they're giving so much credit to the FBI. I think he's receiving his master's there, if I'm not mistaken. Oh, that's awful. Yeah, it sounds like he was preparing, so he may have planned it out. Took some souvenirs, some trophies. There was a lot of nasty shit I was reading on, I think it was 4chan, so recommend staying away from that stuff. Case Cracked says if he was able to get through the sliding glass door on the second floor, he could easily creep up to the third floor. Yeah, I agree. And it seemed like they had the lower floor wedged. So maybe at one point he was like taunting them. And the girls being like a party house and, maybe smoking weed and, just doing what young people do. And who knows what else? Maybe something harder. I don't know. Who am I to judge? But maybe they didn't want to call the cops. They're like, "Oh, we can't call the cops, let's just wedge the door, Ethan's Ethan's here and, we'll call Jack." But this whole time the dude's like creeping up stairs, they had no idea to block the upstairs. They didn't think like this guy's going to crawl up up the back patio or something, however he got in. He probably did it some unexpected way. Yeah, not only did they question him, I think SWAT served a search warrant on his apartment. And Lisette says we can speculate all we want. Danger is discussing real people. At best, we get only part of the information from official sources. If we do not know people, it does no good to speculate about them. Yeah, I agree. And I think that's why they came out early and they tried to clear certain people. And I know the family at first, because they were confused, they wanted to put their pressure on, like, hey, like, there's no reason any family should be like ready and should know how to react to something like this. You just don't know how. You want to be strong. You want to take charge, be a leader. You can't just sit there and be depressed, which is probably what most want to do. Janice, hello. I think maybe the reason he took all those law courses is because this was his fantasy. He thought he knew enough to get away with this mass murder. Yeah, I think he thought it was going to be a breeze, but he walked into a bee's nest. He's like, I'm going to go in there and it's going to be wham bam and I'm out. And I'm going to suck up the adrenaline and I'm going to be high as a kite. But nope, he got resistance. And it seems like he went and ran to mommy and daddy. Elise says, I wonder if Ethan may have been the original target since he went to Washington State as well. Did he? I've been offline for a few days with the flu and definitely wasn't expecting this when I got back online. Random. Yes, very random. I was out and about and I couldn't wait to get home. I was like, oh my gosh, they caught this freaking guy. Well, it was strange because when law enforcement today during the press conference read off the names, they read Ethan's name first. So I wonder if I was kind of curious to why they did that. Because it wasn't in alphabetical order. They just started with him first. I don't know if it's just because he's a guy. I'm not sure. But that was the first time I was like, I wonder if maybe he did pass first. And he was kind of there to keep guard, like, hey, there's this creep out back. Oh, well, I'll stay up, But little did he know the guy was able to get inside, Because those doors look wedged to me. They look like they try to wedge the doors. That looks like a method they may have, figured out to keep people from like coming in and out uninvited. I think mass media and so many interested, it's too far gone to stop that. Yeah, it is. And it's they just need to know how to use it, you know? You gotta learn how to if there's something coming at you, you gotta be able to use that force and adapt and use it to your advantage. And it seems like that's what Idaho police did. They and the FBI and all those involved, they used social media. They never really condemned it as a whole. They pointed out a few certain, they said don't be making threats, don't be accusing people, don't be putting out like attacking. I think they really went after this Jack character, you know, and it's hard for law enforcement to come out because they said it was targeted. To me, when I hear targeted, that's a crime of passion, right? So, I mean, what do you expect? So they're like, okay, we got to come out and say that this guy was cleared. Well, now the family's upset that you're clearing people, you know. So this is the one case where glad they changed their tune, family. And they came around and they said, okay, we really need to support law enforcement and we really need to get behind them. That was the best move. And it really paid off. And it's just a much better look. But like I said, you never know how people are going to react. They just want to be strong and they don't want to sit, especially as a father. Losing a daughter. I mean, you can't even imagine that. CJK, I was responding to a different question. I'll move on. JJ says a girl in Pennsylvania gave a tip to the Moscow police that she saw a car they were looking for with Washington plates in her neighborhood. Wow, that'd be awesome. If that's true, shout out to that tipster. Yeah, these cops gave their holidays and everything. I mean, they didn't give it. That's the job they chose. They don't have to do that, but it's awesome that they got the job done. Hopefully they got the job done. Who? Oh, Jay Turner. I saw that. I don't know if that's legit, but that was the 4chan stuff I was telling people to kind of stay away from. Is very explicit. And it may not be real, but if it is, he may have gotten himself caught by making those strange posts and putting out those details that only the killer would know, if that's what happened. But it's very detailed, and I don't recommend anybody even looking into it. It's not really going to benefit anything unless you can handle gory like stuff. Exactly, case cracked. He doesn't look bothered whatsoever. It's Washington State University. Yeah, CJK, that's right. We'll just wait. It's still very early. We're not going to jump the gun. That's why I didn't want to read any of that Daily Mail stuff. All this information is going to be verified soon enough. I was looking at the broken nose. It definitely wasn't straight before, but it looks a lot more swollen on the right, like maybe another recent break. I hope one of the victims got a couple good hits. Well, I mean, Ethan seems like he was young kid, he seemed capable. He may put up a good fight. I hope so. Whatever it was, this guy couldn't show his face anywhere around there. I mean, he ran all the way to Pennsylvania. Yeah, he looks like he's got psycho strength. That's an old break. Well, he's apparently he's been in boxing and shit. You get your nose busted with a jab. I've had my nose broken a few times. Doesn't look that bad though. Yeah, I'm thinking psychopath, narcissist, involuntary rage, narcissistic rage. Something set him off and he was already ready and prepared. just needed the right excuse. I don't know. He's just thinking about hearing like a blood curdling scream, and you wake up, in the middle of the night, and you open your door and you see that guy right there. I mean, I don't care who you are, you're just not going to be ready for that. Not as a young kid. As a grown person, yeah, we hear any little crack, we made it through. But, they were just new to the world out there and trying to figure things out. All right. What else did I have? I had something else before we get out of here. Okay, I showed you Pullman. Oh yeah, Albrightsville in Pennsylvania. So let's look at this map first things first. Okay. So it's about 2,500 miles. It's like an 8-hour flight, and apparently this dude drove, right? From what we understand. But another really strange thing. So he lives in Pullman, that's right here, okay? And this is where those other two murders took place. You had Sandra Ladd and Travis Jewett in this area here, just across the Washington border. And he lived right here. Now, if you follow this path, and I know this is ridiculous, guys. I'm not saying anything. I'm just saying it's very interesting. Okay. Now, if you go straight down this way, you're going to hit Waterloo or Evansdale. A couple hours off your beaten path. Now, another couple hours off your beaten path, or your normal path to get to Pennsylvania from Pullman. If he's even ever driven that, I don't know. Just we know he did recently, but 2 hours off of this path is Delphi. Just pointing that out. And all of these crimes would have been on the 13th. 13th, Iowa, 13th, Delphi, 13th. He would have been 18 years old, though. So I don't know. I don't know what the statistics are on that. So yeah, so this is Albrightsville. And I don't know if I'm even saying that correctly, guys. So yeah, I'm sure they did, huh? Try to match up that DNA. Yeah, JJ. I wonder if they harbored him. Harboring a fugitive. So this is the place where he ran to, and they eventually caught up to him. And they're trying to, or they're in the process of extraditing him from Pennsylvania over there to Moscow, Idaho. Yeah, that's what I heard, Jay Turner. Jay Turner says his parents' DNA were enough of a match to the crime scene DNA for a PC and arrest. You're the third person to say that. So I'm sure here in maybe about 3 to 4 days, we should have those answers. Once they get him back in Moscow and book him. Yeah, Ann says folks in the other chats have hoped he got his nose broken during the attack and that he bled all over. Yeah, I hope so. Too bad they couldn't get him. But law enforcement did. So they got him now, hopefully. I want to know if he wore a Tyvek suit or changed clothes in the house. Well, from what I understood, this guy was very sloppy. Like, I think the parents early on were like, man, this guy left DNA everywhere. But the problem is you can leave all the DNA in the world if you're not in any of those databases, if you've never been arrested or had your fingerprints taken or had to have one of those jobs where they swap you or taking part in any of the all those genealogy servers or so if you're not part of a database, they're going to run the information. They're not going to be able to find a match. Or if they find a match, maybe it's like from another crime that they haven't been able to tie to anybody. Seems like a quiet little town. Lucky Re9 says, where can we find the info you stated about the person that reported seeing the car in PA? Yeah. Yeah, links are very helpful. That way we can spread this information and it's not all these rumors. Oh, Kiwi Bridget says, I bet those dads would like to get a hold of him. Yeah, there was a point when I first found out where I started thinking about the fathers and I almost started feeling that rage. I was like, oh man, like what a predicament, You're almost at war with God, almost it seems, Like you're trying to figure out what everything, this planet that's floating through space and we're just spinning. It's like, what are we doing here? Like, why are you giving me all this love and then you just take it, everything that I love away? It's got to be just so much pain and confusion. All right, guys. Well, that's going to wrap it up. We'll probably hang out in the chat like maybe another 5 minutes. And then we'll get out of here. It's about all the time I have. I will see you guys on the next one. But we'll hang here for a minute or two. Yeah, Blue Elvis, me too. Those guys were about their business. They're like, all right, we got the scent. We're on it. What's up, bud? I hope Bud says, what's up, Sleuth? Got this guy and Richard Allen all at the end of 2022. What does 2023 have in hand for us? Hopefully, we can get some justice for Jordan Sofer, Travis Jewett, Sandra Ladd, the girls' cousins in Evansdale, Elizabeth and Lyric. Yeah, hopefully we can get some justice for those people and then, everybody else. There's just not enough eyes. Yeah, Jay Turner, if that was him doing all that 4chan stuff, he may have got himself caught. Or help. Yeah, they need a good tip for Evansdale. Hey, Courtney. Yeah, but usually statistics say they're really not that smart. This guy, he's proven that he's somewhat smart. Later, JJ. Thanks for hanging out and participating in the chat. I'll see you on the next one. Hey, Mary. DP. What do you mean a DP? Yeah, Anna. I wonder. Remember, we always said, "Oh, it's a fake." Like he's not a Navy SEAL. He's more like an incel. You know, like a fake account. What if that was him? That'd be crazy. Fake ass Navy SEAL. All right, guys. That's gonna wrap it up for tonight. I'll catch you on the next one. You guys be safe. If you want to shoot me any information or if you have any questions, hit me at my email, sleuthintuition@gmail.com. And if you're part of the replay crew, just drop a comment. I check my comments all the time. And if you have a question for me there, I'll do my best to respond. You guys have a great night.